We are very happy today to introduce a mother to you, first and foremost, I would say. A mother, because chatting with her before starting this interview, before being here on air, I had the feeling, the perception of a great mother's heart, close to children, close to the most innocent beings, to those in need, and obviously a mother because she is the mother of a venerable. And so even more so, a mother who has been struck by an atrocious suffering such as that of the death of her own son, who then, however, rose again in a wonder of God, because Carlo Acutis, it is of him that I am speaking today, venerable, is the object and subject through his intercession of many, many miracles that are happening, especially among young people. And so to talk about it, to talk to us about it today is with us the lady, Carlo's mother, Mrs. Antonia Acutis, whom I thank for being here with us.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning.
I thank you because we know you are busy with many things. Then the translation of the body is imminent, which will take place right here in Assisi, because we are broadcasting this program from Assisi. We are in the heart of a park that belongs to the family, and where between the stations of the cross and tangible signs of God's presence, we truly also feel the presence of this future blessed. We at Maria Vision truly believe in it strongly. Mrs. Acutis, tell us the story of your son.
Well, Carlo's story is a story of all young people, in the sense that Carlo, in fact, the book has come out entitled A Young Man for Young People, because in fact Carlo's story is a story common to all young people contemporary to him, a boy who had an absolutely normal life, just like all his peers, but with an absolutely special harmony, a harmony due above all to the fact that Carlo, every day, his days, were centered on the daily encounter with Jesus in the Eucharist, because he participated every day in Holy Mass, a little bit of Eucharistic adoration either before or after Mass, and the appointment he called the most gallant of my day, which was the one with the Holy Rosary, because he said that Our Lady was the only woman in his life. That's what he said. But what then is this specificity of Carlo? Carlo was a boy who, like all his friends, studied, played soccer, had many friends. He had, let's say, set the goal, for example, with video games, to say that this is something that many of his peers experienced, love, that he, a maximum of 1 hour a week, because he wanted to be master of himself, of his freedom. He had read that many end up in the hospital due to excessive gaming, and so he cared that his freedom was, and so on his own he had imposed, he says, 1 hour a week maximum. This is to tell you how temperate he was in that sense, how balanced he was, you know. And also, for example, this didn't stop him from having this daily encounter with Jesus, because he made his first communion at 7 years old. And so from then on, every single day, Holy Mass, except when maybe he had a fever of 40 or was prevented by something. But otherwise, just think that if we went on a trip abroad, if we went somewhere, Carlo's first concern was to find out where our hotel was, where there was a church, so he could attend Mass and not miss Holy Mass. So really for him it was just...
How do you explain this, ma'am? I mean, is it God's work? Was he already chosen by God?
But surely since he was very little, he showed signs of great piety, in short, of a great devotion, because he always wanted to go into churches. He would blow kisses to the crucifix.
What does very little mean? How many years?
Well, look, he started around 4 years old. I don't know. To tell you, we'd go for a walk. We had many... Well, he liked animals, you know. We had these 4 dogs, and when we went for walks, he would pick flowers, which he then brought to the Madonna there. He liked this thing that every now and then he brought little flowers to the Madonna. And yet he did this since he was 4 years old, 5 years old in short, so...
Surely a child, a boy who says, the Madonna is the only woman in my life, is a child who has already been chosen.
Oh, for sure, because then there was surely already a plan from Jesus. I know that in the history of some saints, of some priests who had vocation since they were very little, well, regardless of the degree of let's say, of holiness of the family, surely Carlo, since he was little, there was always this strong presence of the divine, especially Jesus, this special relationship with Jesus. And the Eucharist, why? Because the Eucharist, he used to say, it is my highway to heaven.
Yes.
And naturally, we know, and he used to say that the Eucharist is the fastest way to become saints, because in there we meet God in person. As he said, we are much luckier than those who lived 2,000 years ago alongside Jesus, who to see him had to travel, maybe go 4 miles, because while we are here, but we have Jesus present in any church, right? He said, just go down to the nearest church and we have the presence of Jesus alive and true. And Jerusalem, after all, we have it right by our house, whereas 2,000 years ago, it was harder to be alongside Jesus.
So let's take a step back, ma'am. This child was born already chosen by God. The signs he gives are visible already from some of the remarks you've made. The upbringing at home wasn't strictly that of going to Mass every time.
No, but look, we aren't particularly, I at least grew up in a secular family, so my father was a publisher, an intellectual man.
No example home.
No, absolutely not.
So he did it on his own, and he did it because he felt it.
No, but he really, look, favorites, as Carlo used to say, everyone is born an original, but many die as photocopies. Carlo said that each of us is favored by God because as how to put it, even Saint Therese, right? She gave the example of Lisieux, that if you look at a meadow, you see many little flowers. There's the violet, there's the rose, there's the lily, but they're all beautiful, right?
Yes.
Every flower has its own beauty, right? The scent of the violet is just as beautiful as the scent of a rose. Well, but everyone, in God creates each of us special. Then, of course, it's up to us, as Carlo said, to put into practice this project of holiness, because in the end, being special means responding to that call that God from eternity has intended for each of us. That is this call to holiness, which, however, we, with the freedom He has given us, must or must not put into practice. Well, unfortunately, many deviate from this unique and unrepeatable project, and then they conform and become so many photocopies, as Carlo used to say.
Mrs. Acutis, if I were to say that the very first person Carlo converted was you, would I be wrong?
No, he was certainly the intermediary, my savior. Let's call him a little savior. I would naturally say that saying I am converted is absolutely wrong, because I believe that conversion, that it lasts a lifetime. Then they say that self-love...
The encounter with God was given to you by Carlo.
Yes, self-love dies 3 days after the body, they say. There's the famous saying. Anyway, I'm certainly on a journey. But certainly Carlo was truly the intermediary for me, because as a parent who cared about intellectual education and so on, but from a religious point of view, I grew up only going to Mass on the day of my communion, the day of my confirmation and marriage.
Of course.
And so obviously my level of piety was very low. But with Carlo pushing me, asking me pressing questions, I felt a bit, in a certain sense, in a deficient position. And so a very devout friend of mine came to my aid, a lady older than me who was a very pious woman. In fact, now unfortunately she's in heaven, but a special woman. And she advised me, she said, why don't you go see this priest who is in Bologna, whom they call a bit like the Padre Pio of Bologna when you go for work like that. Anyway, I happened to go for work. I want to meet this priest who was undoubtedly a special priest anyway. I won't say like Padre Pio, but almost. And certainly from there my journey began. He advised me to study theology. In my spare time, I occasionally attended weekend courses, and little by little I took many exams. And this certainly was for me, for me, the Lord reached me on an intellectual level, this, let's say, gradual discovery and so on. And Carlo was the point, my intermediary. Then this fact that he wanted to go to Mass every day, I would go with him. His grandmother would go with him sometimes. But this also helped me.
In light of your journey of faith, how do you view death today? Death itself, the separation from your son.
Well, look, I thank heaven the Lord had prepared me, because, well, Carlo died, he passed away in 2006. But this journey, let's say, started around 93, 94, this journey of ours of coming back to faith. And so clearly I took it with Christian resignation, knowing that it's not a goodbye, but a see you later. And then all things considered, we're even lucky, because when we die, we have Carlo who comes to get us, and it's not for everyone to have a son who...
That's for sure.
And then anyway, Carlo has given so many signs. He appeared to many people, because then these figures, candidates for the altars, often they told me there at the congregation for the saints, the postulators, that they often give very strong signs. The Lord allows them. So maybe they appear, they perform strange miracles things, apart from those that might be healings, which He's done many of. We'll see then what the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith will say. But He's done many miracles of healing, but also many things.
But if you were to say which are the testimonies that struck you the most, something that really left you stunned regarding mortality, that is regarding what surrounds us,
well, look, he's done, I can say that so many, from meningitis to babies born prematurely who had no hearts with malformations. In short, we've had many things. Certainly, then also tumors, people with leukemia, people who had, some defects. I mean, I've heard many things, you know. Then obviously it will be the church chooses one of the miracles, they analyze it, it's a commission of theologians, of doctors, and then we'll see. Obviously I can't anticipate anything, but to me these miracles, let's say physical ones, interest me relatively, because in my opinion...
Maybe the physical ones interest the congregation?
Yes, but for me the most important thing is all the conversions, thanks to which Carlo has brought many people back. If you only knew how many priests in crisis, how many nuns through Carlo have come back. This is the thing that gives me more, let's say, surprises me the most, right? I mean, the fact that Carlo anyway helps so many souls, really, that for me that's the greatest healing, the healing of the soul, because then the rest, you know, the body then is destined to perish. Then for goodness sake, the church chooses a physical miracle, but they're not so important, these physical miracles, right?
Conversions, as we were saying, you know, of so many of them, through the signs that Carlo sends. What kind? Dreams, apparitions?
Well, look, I don't know how the grace of God works. It's clear that the grace of God works through Carlo, right? Carlo is an instrument. On the other hand, we know that holy miracles, as the church itself tells us, are graces given freely. That is, graces given for free, but for which the saint has no merit. The merit belongs to the Lord because he does it. So even having many mystical signs, visions, rather than interior locutions, the gift of bilocation, these are not the merits, right? You know that the church declares someone that is a candidate for the altars. What it sees, first of all, is if they lived heroically the 7 Christian virtues, which are faith, hope, charity, prudence, justice, fortitude, and temperance. That is, Padre Pio was made a saint, not because he had bilocations or stigmata, but because he lived the Christian virtues heroically. And Carlo, let's say, this first aspect, which is the most important aspect, because there can even be 100 miracles. But if the church doesn't, let's say, recognize that that candidate lived these virtues heroically, the cause stops, you see.